Good evening, everyone. My name is Rahul Jain. I'm the Managing Director of InnoServe Group, and I'm the Director of Digital HR. It takes me immense pleasure and pride to welcome you today in the first conference by Digital HR on the topic of future of HR technology and employer branding post-Corona era. I take this opportunity to welcome all my esteemed guests here. I mean, this is very difficult moment of time when a lot of work is, piling up on everyone's side, and there are different kind of challenges. Amidst all that, they accepted our request to, come join us in this particular webinar to help, the community understand how possibly the future looks like, post-Corona era. So we have with us Mr. Amit Das, Director HR and CHRO of Bennett Coleman and Company Limited. Thank you, Amit sir, for
Thank you, Rahul. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel discussion.
Thank you, sir. We have Dr. Deepak Deshpande, CHRO and Senior Vice President, Entity NetMagic with us. It's very interesting to have you here, sir. It actually, gives a different perspective with your presence. We have Ms. Poonam Yadav, a Group Head Talent Staffing, Aditya Birla Group. We all will be enlightened with the knowledge Poonam Madam brings to the table. Thank you so much for joining in, Poonam Ma'am.
Rahul.
I'm so much thankful to Dhananjay sir for accepting to moderate this particular session. It's a very interesting fact that, I borrow a lot of strength from you, Dhananjay sir. Whenever I want to do something, the first person I actually remember is you. And thank you so much once again, for being so modest in accepting my invitation to take up this session moderation, sir.
Thank you, Rahul. Because of you, all of us, all our friends we are here together.
It's a privilege, sir. I then welcome, Dr. Pratima Chevre from Symbiosis Center for Management and Human Resource Development. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in. Actually, we thought that it's very important to have academic stakeholder also, coming in, becoming part of this particular session. The objective of this particular talk all concerned with the HR fraternity, and both HR technology as well as the employer branding are very important areas and are going to gain strength as the post-Corona era we enter into. I have my chairman, Mr. Gopalakrishnan Ramchandran, joining in here. Pleasure to have you, sir, with us. Thank you so much for taking our time as well.
Thank you, Rahul. I think it's going to be a wonderful session. I feel that, yes, we are in for a great session today. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, sir. Then I have my friend, Mr. Swapnil Jain from Bangalore joining in. He brings a lot of excitement in terms of artificial intelligence in HR. Though his company operates into multiple verticals, but he is very much enthusiastic to have the HR play. So let's, let's hear from him as well as to what perspectives, AI is building up actually in context to human resources. So with this, I have a great panel, and I shouldn't be actually, stepping in between the immense knowledge that we are going to gain from this particular session. So I would like to thank our partners, our learning partner in InnoServe Digital, InnoServe Solutions. Then we have employer branding partner Cobus. Orai has been kind enough to become the AI partner, and we also had the community partner as ASMA. So welcome you all once again, and let me hand it over to Dhananjay sir to take the conversation ahead. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Rahul, and what a privilege to be with some distinguished panel today. And I was sharing with Rahul that any one of them is enough for the next less than 90 minutes which we have, the kind of experience and the kind of expertise which they carry. And thank you very much, Rahul, for Digital HR for bringing this together, future of HR technologies and employer branding post-Corona era. And I'll keep it very brief because it's already 7:08, and which is 5:08 time in the evening here. And by 6:30 we need to close, including the question answers. So all of us agree, even before when we started, we were having an informal chat with Amit and Dr. Deshpande, and we were talking about that how the new normal which is going to emerge is going to be very, very different than the kind of world we have lived for last many decades on this spaceship. And together, this will require more of collaboration, this will require more of clarity, and this will require more of each one of us putting our heads together, souls together, minds together. So I fully echo Rahul when you said that when Pratima ji is also part of this and all of us here. So we look forward to a very exciting session. And you have already introduced all the panelists. So let's straight away talk about some of the subjects which we have in mind. So the way we have thought of taking this session forward is, first we'll talk about the employer branding as a subject. I will be requesting each one of the panelists to share their point of views in about 4 to 5 minutes. And then we will move to other issues like HR technology adoption, so that we can have a very fulfilling discussion while we understand that we have so many Tendulkars, all of them present here for this session. So friends, with this, let me start with the first part, which will be on the employer branding. So all of us agree when we are talking to our friends in HR fraternity that the kind of questions which they have in mind, how people are struggling in these COVID times, how they are utilizing this COVID times, how they are adding to their learning curve. Those are the prime questions which are already in their minds. Now, post-COVID, once they are there at the workplace, how the same kind of experience which we had in pre-COVID times, how we can multiply it, how we can make it better. And as the HR professionals, I was reading a survey today only. National Charity Network is also, have already undertaken a primary research to understand the real impact of this COVID and its impact on the HR policies and processes. So all of us, let me start with this, that none of us has the right answers for all the right questions which we have in mind, whether it is the employees or the promoters or the society or the government. So all of us are in the same boat where every moment we are learning something new. And keeping that in mind, for the HR fraternity, employer branding becomes very, very crucial. So may I request my good friend Amit to talk about in this post-COVID era, Amit, how do you see what would be the change in employees' expectations? If you can, may I start with you, and if you can share your views on this, please. Over to Amit, please.
Sure. Thanks, Dhananjay, and hi, everybody. And it's a pleasure to be part of this panel discussion. So let me start off by saying that employee expectations are highly contextual. Even in an unprecedented crisis like what all of us are going through right now, I think we have to understand one fundamental thing, that although all of us are facing the same storm, but not all of us are on the same boat. So expectations of our employees in both business as usual or business as unusual phase varies quite a lot depending on which boat or organization they belong to. So that's where the employer branding, which Dhananjay, you are talking about, plays a critical role in shaping the expectation of the employees, be it in a period of crisis or be it in a peacetime. So we all know that employer branding is all about crafting the uniqueness in the mind of the stakeholders, whether it's internal employees or external prospective talent market, by setting aside a differentiated and compelling value propositions, which in turn can help the organization to enhance their attractiveness as an employer. So we need an engaged workforce who are primarily has to be driven by three things. And research says that common things that drives the engagement of a workforce are alignment of purpose, role clarity, and trust on the organization leadership. So the expectations of employees will continue even post-COVID era to be governed by primarily these three factors. the success measures of how well we manage the employee expectations will continue to be the employee loyalty, the employee advocacy, and the employee discretionary effort, which is walking that extra mile beyond their call of duty as displayed by our employees. So I strongly feel that going forward as well, employees will start evaluating employers not only on the business performance, but also on the resilience shown by organizations during this time of crisis. That's very important because employees will never forget or forgive any behavior or actions demonstrated by the organizations, especially when we are faced with certain challenges and disruptions. So it's very crucial and critical for the continuity of employer brand experience, even post COVID-19, to protect our brand reputation. Now, from the history, we have learned that even in the past, whenever we are hit by a recession, the job security and continuity of job stability becomes the most important thing in the minds of the employees, even more than the salaries and the benefits that they get. But one thing that remains constant is the work climate, which people expect from the organization. So, and various survey reports have indicated that the attractiveness score of the employer declines quite a lot at times of crisis. Even in the last 2003 SARS crisis, or even at 2009, the global financial crisis, we have found that the attractiveness score of the employer branding had taken a sharp decline. And companies which show more resilience in managing continuity of these people practices in business as unusual times will be the ones we can quickly recover their employer branding attractiveness. But unfortunately, what happens is the employer branding takes a backseat for most of the corporates, and especially in a time like this when you're struggling to manage the business continuity. But in practice, actually, it should be the other way around. The worst thing that we can do is to be silent in a period of crisis. So we need to continuously communicate to our employees in a transparent manner, and organization leadership, but they must demonstrate a bold and authentic behavior to pass the acid test for leadership agility in any kind of crisis that we are going through. So I firmly believe that this will go a long way to ensure that we stay in the minds of the people's memory, even in future, through whatever behaviors and actions that we display today. So I think it's very important, and especially when you see that in the recent, I was reading through a survey report by the National Sample Survey, it was saying more than 130 million jobs are at risk in India due to this COVID impact. And that's quite worrisome, especially in a country like India with the kind of demographics that we have. We need to create nearly 10 million jobs every year to absorb people moving into the working age population. This is in addition to the unemployed population that we already have. So now when you are trying to imagine a post-COVID work environment, we need to have an incredible amount of foresight and planning to understand how we manage the workplace post this COVID phase. So the world of work will obviously recalibrate itself, as we were talking even before this session, that it will recalibrate itself into a new normal. So I foresee a simultaneous transformation of what I say 3 Ws: work, workforce, and workplace. The most critical shift in my mind post this crisis is going to be the mindset shift. We'll move from a mindset of can we do this in person to what we say, do we need to do this in person? That's the fundamental question our mind will keep asking us. This would mean majority of the interactions with all stakeholders will move seamlessly from a physical space to a virtual space. And workplace will be replaced by what I say my space, which will be any space that allows 24/7 access and connectivity. And I strongly feel we'll see Uberization of workplace, when employees will have to just use an app to locate the nearest workplace from their home and just walk in, plug in, and start playing. So in a nutshell, what I want to say is that the gig economy, millennials and the Gen Z workforce of tomorrow will be extremely confident and excited with the endless possibilities provided by the digitally connected world. The future workforce will look for instant gratification. They will look for opportunities to fulfill their purpose. They will expect more life in the job than job for life. They will be more vocal about expressing their learning and engagement needs, which will be hyper-personalized, and they will expect more and more flexibility in their work schedules. Their aspirations will hover around portfolio career, where they can dabble with multiple roles in a flatter, project-based, collaborative organization structure. They need greater empowerment. They will look for more freedom to experiment, And also, they will look for entrepreneurial opportunities within the stability of a progressive and ethical organization. So what I'm saying in conclusion is, in the new world of business, organizations need to recreate that employee experience across the employee lifecycle touchpoints, which are relevant and provide the high moments of truth, which are hyper customized to the specific needs of my employees.
Thank you so much, Amit. In fact, I have such a lucid expression and the kind of comprehensive coverage you have done from the different lenses. Thank you. Grateful thanks to you, Amit. And Poonam, now, as we talk about, you come from a large multinational organization, which in your point of view, whatever Amit talked about the need, from your perspective, because he rightly said that we are in a storm where we are in the same storm, but we are in different boats. So from your experience, when you are managing a global workforce across many continents, what is your opinion about the need for employer branding? Let's hear from Poonam, please.
So thanks, Dhananjay. So employer branding from our perspective is basically, first we need to be very clear as to why do we need to spend our effort, time and money on employer branding. Because as Amit said, do we really need it is a question a lot of people actually asking it, because if we are not hiring at this point of time, why do we need to brand ourselves? And what is it if there is most of the companies, at least 60% or so, have announced a hiring freeze as soon as the COVID, the one of the first fallout was hiring as such. So if hiring is not happening, then why do we need it? What are we trying to achieve, and what is the end objective is where we have to kind of think ourselves as HR professionals and say, is it to attract more number of candidates to our company, or is it to improve our recruitment processes and the efficiencies to kind of reduce the cost of hiring, or is it always to stay ahead of the competition for the talent as an organization that we want to hire? Now at ABG, we actually look at these are the three major areas as to why we do employer branding. Once we actually understand why employer branding is important for an organization, we can then, of course, being in separate boards, like Amit put it, we can define as to how do we kind of achieve, which is the most critical one for us. Now, as I know, a lot of HR professional, and Rahul said there are almost 400 people have joined at HR. So each one of us actually have our own personal brand. And in the time of crisis, when jobs of 130 million jobs are at risk, our personal brand becomes more important. So I'm just giving an analogy as to what is a personal brand. Personal brand is what we think we are and what people think we are as the reputation. Now, a bad reputation, if anybody has or has done anything wrong in one organization, it travels faster than any neutral or a good reputation, because as soon as you do a high ref check, the reputation of the person before you can even hire, you come to know and you make your decisions accordingly. Now, there's a flip side to it. Actually, like Amit mentioned, now our candidates are doing reference checks on the employers. And with our websites like Glassdoor and Quora and all, there are already available content at a click of a button as to what is the experience that a person can expect, and that is basically what the reputation is. So how do the candidate or your employees kind of define is basically your experience of working at your organization is what is our employer branding. Now it is just like an experience store of an Apple or anything that you walk in. What is the feeling that you take, and does that kind of impact your decision to join the company or to make that purchase is completely the brand experience that we are talking. So the need definitely for stepping up employer branding is definitely there. Whether a company is hiring or not hiring in this crisis phase is irrelevant, because this is not going to last long. We are saying there are, of course, multiple versions in terms of whether it is 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. There are different people saying different things. But finally, everybody is agreeing that in a 2 years time frame, we would kind of come out of it. Now, whether to Amit's point, the new normal is going to be what we are, what is going to come out, none of us know. And all of us are kind of talking to each other, trying to define, trying to understand what the new normal is about. and say it is in every aspect of a business, not just employer branding. In fact, I receive almost 5-6 surveys on a daily basis from consultants to find out what the new normal should be, what we think it would evolve as, and everybody is trying to form a point of view on the new normal. Now, the new normal for employer branding, as far as my point of view is, it is going to be the employees of the organization that are going to define it, and not any HR or professional is going to define it. It's the same thing. Do we trust the employee testimonials posted on our career website, or do we think it is like a window dressing in retail? Do we know that what do we do when we want to do a ref check on a company? We actually either try to reach out to a person we know in that company, or we go to the internet and find out what the experience is, and that is basically what it is. So employer branding is not just about recruitment and retention. That's what the new normal is about. It's also about the engagement. It's exactly this engagement that is severely tested at times of crisis like this. Whether companies will make it through this period depends partially on the engagement of its employees. Anything that supports this engagement of employees is very important right now, and that is why employer branding is one of those things. How do we keep our employee experience or the employee engagement at a high level? What is it that we can do? So to Amit's point, what is it that employees are seeking is a very important thing. Of course, each boat is different, so employee expectations are different. So we need to understand what is it actually our employees are seeking, and how do we try to be a little more empathetic, understand their needs, and then kind of roll out our strategies. So nobody can explain the brand experience of an organization or better than our employees itself. So it's about the employee experience, which turns into employee advocacy, is basically what is going to define the employer brand in the new normal. And for that, I think for the first thing we need to do is we have to look internally and see what is it that our employees are wanting. And once if they are satisfied and we are able to cater to those kind of expectations of our own employees in terms of whether it be a flexibility, in terms of work schedule, or whether it's a travel flexibility, because in our own internal surveys, we are finding out that employees may not want to travel for the next 6 to 8 months. So how do we kind of manage our marketing and sales if employees are not willing to travel? Now, these are questions as to what are the decisions we are going to take as an organization, and what is the employee experience that comes out of it is basically going to be the employer branding piece of it, because we may lose certain employees. While yes, we as a HR can put certain parameters for us to follow in the new normal, but how is it that the employees are going to perceive about it, and how is it that they're going to communicate on it? Because nowadays with social media, everything is transparent. There is nothing which is confidential internally. If you're not treating them rightly, it can be out there in the social media as such. So what is it that each and every kind of organization is doing, and how is that the organization is responding to this pandemic? Is actually, are they following their core values, or are they following the herd mentality? What are they doing it responsibility? Is the community interest taken care of? What are we doing about our customer partnership? And overall, how are we kind of keeping up our employee support? These are the various things that would kind of help companies if they do. If I have to take certain examples, now we are talking about pay cuts, we are talking about job cuts. Now employees are also understanding. They understand that if revenues are cut, pay cuts would definitely come. But job cuts is something which I don't think anybody is anticipating as of now. But yes, companies have started talking at the SME sector. We are already seeing it happening as such. But for example, the last week's example of Capgemini, the forced leave revoke. Now, Capgemini decided this thing about they can kind of adjust the leaves of people as forced leaves and kind of reduce or do a salary cut that way. But social media took it right up to it, to the government, and the government has come down. Now, this is all going to stay in the minds of our employees, and this is the experience that is going to kind of define the employer branding. If you see the positive side of it, Tata Group provided the Taj hotels for the healthcare workers, showing solidarity with the purpose of the country and all that. And their employer brand people would remember that, and next time that would kind of come back when they are looking for a job change. So what is the employer branding strategy is basically what is it that our employees are talking about us after, let's say, 6 months, 12 months. Now, is there some sort of this thing? I think all of us are still discovering it, and that's why these various talks and panel discussions are there. All of us are in the discovery method, and we're trying to learn from each other as to what is it that would evolve. Nobody has a kind of a set strategy. What works best for one boat may not work best for the other boat. And that is basically, I think all of us would be in a learning curve, at least for the next 6 months, as far as employer branding is concerned.
Thanks, Poonam. Thank you so much. In fact, you rightly said that we have to see the complete continuum of time. We cannot be just carried away by what has just happened, because the world is watching us. Now let's move to Dr. Deepak Deshpande. In fact, before the session, we were having an informal chat, and he's only getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep every day because of a lot of things which are happening around us. Deepak, I would like to ask you how industry will take shape, seeing changes in employee experience like gig economy, diversity, L&D patterns. What are your thoughts about it when we align all these to employer branding? Over to Deepak, please. Deepak, are we audible?
Yeah. Let me compliment. Thank you. Let me compliment, sir, for getting the lethal combination. When I was first invited to speak on this, I said, what combination? Branding and technology, HR technology. I mean, this is like, while they look similar, I mean, they go hand in hand, but at the same time, they are very contrasting. One topic like HR technology makes you talk about how digital world is changing the way we are living, right? And the aspirational, how we can take it to next level and how we can make our life simpler and easy and blah, blah. And then we come up with huge plans. And while doing that, there's also, it weaves a kind of fence around you of branding. If you get it wrong, you get caught. First, it makes you commit and do certain things. We will do it this way for this reason. And then subtly, very, quietly, it weaves a ring around. Be mindful about, I think Poonam gave a wonderful example about, some of the companies. She talked about how it went to social media, took over, and again, they had to look at and things like that. We have to be always wary about, you're not alone here. Everything is open. So this combination, like I said, is very, 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 very powerful combination, and it kind of sets the tone. So I must compliment, so for getting that, and so delighted to listen to Amit, my friend, across the street, where we haven't met. We didn't know until we met in the last panel discussion, but it's joy to hear you. I think I really envy him. Somebody coming from such a huge media house, they are the guys who actually set the narrative for the country. So I'm sure I'm so delighted to hear his views, and the ring fencing done by Poonam. I think that really helped us to get to the into the core of the discussion. So coming back to the question that you asked, how industry will take shape, seeing changes in employee experience like gig economy, or should I say L&D pattern and diversity. I think I would like to slightly modify this. One side you have the industry, and the other side you have the gig economy, or so to say L&D and things like diversity. These are two different sets of things that we are talking about. Each will influence each other, but none of them are having the supremacy to decide the other. They exist in an environment, right? They exist in an environment. They are not the environment. Industry exists in an environment. So also gig economy, or so to say L&D or diversity, things like that, they exist also in environment. So they're not separate by themselves. They're part of a system. So if you think minus COVID or prior to pre-COVID, these things existed. We had looked at these things differently. We had certain views about these things, very set patterns, proven. Like, you know, if I look back last 30 years, you know, I can clearly recall how these things have remained same. At the same time, they have not remained same. They have changed very slowly. They have changed, and that change doesn't really hit us hard, because you have seen those small little changes leading to a bigger change. But when you look at 1960 and again 2010, you find, oh my God, was it like this? Today I saw a picture called Cycle, you know, the cycle, and suddenly, oh my God, it's been ages since I saw the cycle. Kind of, you know, it hits you hard. So likewise, industry and these three things, they have been always part of the environment. Now, post-COVID, you know, we have a different way of looking. The advantage of this COVID, I must say, is that we have experienced this ourselves very intensely. We were forced into that situation. We didn't have a choice to think and brood over, should I do this or not do this? You were only caught up, or, you know, only with one issue. If I don't do this, I am done. We are out of the game. You know, you may not be there. No, you are so focused. So it was a one simple stroke. I think this code has put all together on one single platform called existence is the reality. The rest of the terms, now again, we are trying to pick up the threads called, you know, diversity, transformation, L&D, blah, blah, blah. All that is happening good. But once you have experienced this so intensely, now you know the real worth of life. You know the real meaning, the purpose behind each of these, and you have a different definition, the way of looking at these aspects. So while I am so happy, you know, whatever I've experienced and learned over the last few weeks, it is also sad so many lives have gone. And this is a man-made disaster, and probably for something, and there's nothing better coming out of that. It will come eventually, but not at this cost. So keeping that thing apart. Now diversity seems like not an issue at all anymore. We were just speaking, you know, every day we have at least 10 to 15 customers asking, what if this happens? What if that happens? How are we going to deal with if a suspect is found in your office? What happens if, you know, if he's tested positive? What preparation are you doing? What is the safety for our people? You know, n number of scenarios they're creating, and in the process, to answer them, we were pushed into imagining certain things and simulating and trying to actually write down those workflows. And that is why they are saying, oh yeah, this is doable. And that gives us immense confidence. And some of those things actually we are implementing. Certain things may not have happened. But the fact that we have gone through that journey mentally and prepared ourselves. We never thought that joining can happen virtually without compromising everything that you were anyway doing. Physical. We never thought L&D can be done beyond with the same degree of, you know, finesse and effectiveness the way you would do in a classroom or when the organization opened in pre-COVID times I'm talking. But touch wood, today we are not compromising on any of those. Maybe I think today if I say then we were 8 on 10 or 8.5 on 10. Today I would say definitely we have begun our journey remote working, whether it is joining or whether it is exits or whether it is training or whether it is reviews. We have definitely started the journey by being on 7. 2 days flat, we put the remote organization into, you know, operations. 2 days flat, 900 employees in Bombay city alone, across in few more cities. Overnight, 2 days, we made them functional, and then started the journey. Then you are worried about people working from home. How do we get them, you know, integrated? Today, I don't see any organization at all. It's all over the place. We have used the technology now. It is like that is our air now. That's our environment. That's our world. So whether it is diversity, it doesn't matter who is sitting, who is beyond this, you know, screen. It does not really matter to me as long as the job is being done. Gig economy, I think that is, we have lived with this for over, it took quite some time for us to understand, you know, I need to have contractors, should I go for it? Confidentiality issues, continuity problems, quality issues, what if he's there, what if, you know, blah, blah, blah. I think now it has become a reality. This has forced us to, you know, more jobs, more different jobs, new ways of doing things. One side, Amit did say, yes, I concur to it when he said, so many jobs getting lost, which is fine, but maybe 4 times of that number might get created. It's all about, this is churned, upside down the whole thing. So if I look closely, how am I going to do L&D differently? How am I looking at diversity? Until now, I had a definition of diversity. Today, I don't even bother whether it's a 60-year-old or what sex or which region, what color, what caste, any other thought process also. I just say delivery, output, availability. I think you did mention in the opening comment about, are you available 24/7? Are you responsive? Or are you reliable? That's what they're saying. So I think we will be measured by these parameters: connectivity, right? Competence, collaboration, right? At the same time, the softer parts will not go, whether it is compassion or, the consideration, they will not go. They will remain there. These are the core of our existence. They will always be there, whether, how much our technology grows. So will these change the industry? How will the industry behave? It will change. How will it change? Will the gig economy or the L&D and the diversity will define the industry? Yes and no. Or will the industry decide what kind of gig economy should be, how they should behave? No, I don't think those questions are fair to each other to ask. It is the environment. Like, for instance, I was reading this article from TCS, which says that I think I have over 5 lakh employees. 3.75 lakh employees, they're going to go, there's a remote working. Just imagine these 3.75 employees sitting in so sprawling big facilities. The real estate price has gone up in those regions. So many, mushrooming of the malls and residential complexes, everything, growing there. Now imagine that not coming to that area at all. What will happen? You have seen so many malls dying, on the LBS. You go from Mulund to, almost Kurla and all, so many malls, they're just decaying. They're all empty, good for shootings, last scene in a movie, Bollywood movie. They've become like that. Now imagine if this becomes a reality, it's going to change the life. Traffic, roads are going to be less crowded, LPS park is going to be easy to drive, right? So I was saying that the environment is going to decide. People, businesses being businesses, their focus will always be on productivity, profitability. Of course, people is an important part, it will always be there. But the magnitude, the scale of managing that important workforce, that the headquarters is going to shift from there to a virtual world.
Sure, thanks.
But the values and approaches will remain the same. Yeah.
Thank you, Deepak. Thanks very much, in fact, for sharing your views. Fully echo your point of view. And let's move to Mr. Gopalakrishnan. Mr. Gopalakrishnan, many of the people, they are saying that, okay, this is a time when we are moving from Swachh Bharat to Swachh Bharat 2.0, where people will talk about that, okay, as a human being, as a organization, as an institution, I am not a threat to public. I am not a threat to society. This is a common kind of perspective which is really gaining a lot of, whether you are seeing the kind of sanitization moves which are happening or the kind of habits which are going in a different direction. That is one physical form of it. Mr. Gopalakrishnan, there is another form of healthy personality, is the mental well-being. So if I may ask you your views, that how do you see that post-COVID employees' mental wellness needs would increase in when we talk about the healthy workplaces? So over to Mr. Gopalakrishnan, please.
Dear friends, are you able to see me? Is it okay? Hello? Hello?
Yes, I can see you, please.
Yeah,
yes, I can see you.
Okay, fine. I must be very honest in telling you all that I have been coming from a background of having been an investment banker for 20 years and 20 years as a startup specialist. And one of the companies that I set up was in the country was Gold's Gym, where fitness was what we were talking about. To my mind, post-COVID, people first will be a very, very important aspect. But in a lighter vein, it is ironical when I hear people say, or I see memes which say, you're healthy if you don't go to the gym. You're healthy if you don't go to the spa. You're healthy if you don't go to the salon. You're healthy if you are at home. Now, a mental and physical wellness obviously takes a change. We are going to see a new normal, yes. The script has been flipped completely, and you're going to have a new HR narrative in place. But having said this, I may not totally agree with my esteemed fellow speakers that everything is going to be so good, because to my mind, when you're going to have a new normal, you're going to have the gig people or the gig workers, it's going to be a different ballgame altogether. If people are going to stay at home 24/7, they're going to be working from home 24/7, working as well as have a work-life balance. That's going to be a tough one. Today, while I heard one of the panelists talking about I'm working for 24 hours, I shudder to think the type of sedentary lifestyle that we'll be leading, except doing work, more work, eating in order to work, and the culture of the organization may not be known. Digital HR technology has to enter in at a furious pace and pretty fast, because people will need to know the organization culture. While what the TCS has formed as a strategy in terms of shifting 75% of the workforce to home is great. It's a huge organization. Smaller organizations, for them to work from home and create a culture in the startup space and become unicorns is going to be a tough one, because when you are dispersed, while we'll have the environment to be very good, we'll have less pollution, we'll have less cars on the road, less traffic, all that is nice. The flip side of it is we will be knowing organizations only through technology. It's like two people sitting at home and using your mobile phones in conversation, whereas you're physically present, emotionally and mentally absent. Organizations, yes, will cease to exist. We say virtual organizations will come in, but HR has to actually use technology to ensure that people who have the creative need for connectivity stay connected with employees, organizations, and in terms of people, processes, products, practices, and standard operating systems, we need to have a new normal created, which is going to be done across the board. It's not going to be a very easy task. It's going to be something where it's going to be difficult. At the same time, the mental well-being and the physical well-being is going to come into a lot of question. HR has to play a significant role in the mental wellness of the people, ensuring that they are mentally well, because the pressure will be on them 24/7 to pick up the phone at home and work, irrespective of whether they have other household work to do. And that's a big problem. Or as I see it today, people at home, when they're working pretty hard and I must say it's the consulting firms which are doing this and the technology firms, they are invariably overburdened post-COVID in terms of working, forgetting even to take a bath. They forget to take their meals on time. And they're working and working and working. Nice, we'll be productive. But then there is a caution. You can have a mental breakdown. Physically, obesity in India is a big issue. You'll stop going to the gyms for some time because of social distancing and other norms that will step in post-COVID. But the health will be an issue. There will be depression because you'll be in remote, you'll be talking to people. You'll go once in a while. The bonding may be in a questionable state. More importantly, are we going to find a world where it's only virtual and the real world is going to be non-existent? Or we meet once in a month, once in 6 months as perfect strangers? Yes. And the other big problem, which I am sincerely worried about, the loyalty to the organization the moment you talk about a gig economy. The gig economy, you have gig workers. And if you're going to be having gig workers, then what is it that's going to happen in the system? Are we going to be in some state where the very word gig indicates that you're into short-term contracts? At home, are you going to take multiple contracts? Are you going to be evaluating a person very clearly on being with the organization, or the person is going to take other jobs? How will that be managed? Because we need to have a sense of self-discipline. Freedom is there. Freedom comes with self-discipline. We know it. Mahatma Gandhi taught us that. But at the end of the day, are we going to be self-disciplined? Knowledge is important. Knowledge will impact in solutions to organization. Digital HR has to ensure that the human connect remains. Human touch remains. We remain humane. It is people's first. We learn from the people, and we will have virtual reality. We have to use a lot of it. We have to use a lot of training programs. We'll have to have a lot of counseling to be done so that the mental health is taken care of. Physical health, we urge them, and they also need to be having their breaks at the appropriate time so that it's not work, 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 and the person collapses. All that I would say is that digital technology in HR as an intervention will be very important, and it has to combine AI, ML, and VR, the virtual reality, to ensure that the person doesn't work in splendid isolation and feel that he's monumentally neglected from the ethos of an organization, because the virtual surroundings are good up to a certain point. It's like saying that we have the Alexa of Amazon. It does all the work, but still we'd like to open the door. Still we like to do certain touch points we love to have. The touch and feel will be missing. The bonding will be missing. The talking in face-to-face will be missing. We have to ensure this doesn't go away. We will be missing the normal things of the picnics and the get-togethers and the birthday celebrations, and we will end up virtually becoming robotic. My worry is that I rightly heard that 130 million jobs have gone. MSMEs are facing death. But if the people are not going to be taken care of, and in due course of time, we say, I repeat, that we work from home, and sometime we say robots have come in and so you're not needed. That is a scary part of the story. Having said that, all that I would urge is that we'll need digital intervention with HR in a very big way post-COVID, so that people first is the mantra, as the HR narrative has changed forever, but people will need to be mentally fit, physically fit all the more, since they'll not be going to gyms. So corporates have to work a lot in counseling people, have a lot of counselors to keep their morale high and ensure that the organizations grow with a humane touch.
Thanks,
so much.
Thank you very much for sharing a very different perspective. And I liked your point of view of virtual reality and all coming, maybe neuroscience, biotechnology, a lot of things will come into the fold of human resources once as we go ahead. Now we will go for a very different lens, and Dr. Pratima, thank you so much for joining us here. We would like to learn from you, from your lens, what are the ways corporate should adopt for employer branding, and what role technology will play here? We would like to hear from you, Dr. Pratima, please. Over to you.
So first and foremost, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm thankful to the InnoServe group, and of course, wonderful to see you here, Dhananjay, a familiar face in this world of virtual meetings. It's nice to see a familiar face, and I remember, the last time we met was at an NHRD session, on a similar type of. Yes, in Mumbai. Yeah. So, wonderful to be here. And I think the onus of speaking after so many prolific and experienced people makes my task easier. So I can choose to digitally copy paste or, just pick pieces from there and make my own new dish or khichdi, as you may choose to call it. But let me just sort of give it a slightly different spin. And I'm going to speak basis my experience at Symbiosis, and also now at SMHRD and interacting with a whole bunch of alumni and a lot of our students that are passing out, have passed out, are in the midst of various stages of doing their summer internship. And I've seen a couple of themes emerging, and I think nobody can predict what's going to happen. Are we going to stay like this and like GR? Just mentioned that, people are going to get stuck to the chair and, are mentally, physically going to be in a state of shock, because we're really not. We're a very, our touch sense or our skin is the largest organ of the body. We can't live away from that. So we are social animals, and it's difficult for us to be anything different than that. However, I would want, since I interact with students, since I interact with these 23, 24, 25, 26, nowadays 28, 29-year-olds as well, a couple of things that I have seen, and we are in constant touch with all our students and all our batches, is that these kids no, I can't call them kids, can I now? But these students or these people, and which forms a majority of the group that all of us are employing to a large extent, like independence, take to the virtual mode of communication very quickly, are intensely comfortable in dealing with things like this, believe that they need their independence. I remember what, a couple of speakers before me have spoken, Poonam has spoken, and Mr. Das has spoken, that these are people who are, who like independence, who really don't give too much importance to loyalty and want instant gratification. I would agree with you on all of those and more. However, it's also a very resilient group of people. They were born and they landed, in 7-8 years of their life, they landed into the SARS and the, bombing of the Twin Towers and all of that. And then 2008-9, by the time they could understand a little bit more, and now this. All right, so they've seen 3 different cycles of a lot of disruption, and they're on the edge of disruption. They adjust pretty quickly. What should organizations do, therefore, to take care of them? I would feel collaboration is the key here. There are times when I have done sessions with our students, with our alumni, because we are constantly connected with them, trying to understand what changes, what should we do to make the whole thing better. And collaboration is the key. They believe everybody can add some value, and no one person is great at everything. Everybody is good at something, so we need to pool those resources. Can we do something like that? Can we be compassionate? I think a lot of organizations are also laying off people. But there is going to be a group that is also going to stay. So while it is important to handle the people that we are going to lay off sensitively, it's also important to understand what is going to be the psyche of the person who is staying back, who's staying with the organization. So it's very, very crucial to know how they are going to react. And are we looking after them in our own wisdom, in our own way? So collaboration followed by compassion. And comfort with technology. Do all the people around have a comfort with technology? Do all the people that, Dr. Deshpande spoke about, within 2 days, we were able to get people to work from home, but there was a even in our case, we got all our faculty, non-teaching staff, everybody to start working from home. But there has been a fair amount of training that we've had to do, and just a one-time training has not been enough. So there are some glitches that they encounter. The first time they use it, they manage somehow. But if you want that experience to be seamless, then they need to be continually trained in using these different types of technologies, because they're naturally not used to it. And I'm not talking about students, I'm talking about our staff, or our employees. They have a problem with respect to sometimes adapting to newer technology. They may or may not be very tech friendly. So yes, comfort with tech has to be looked at in terms of managing. Today, there's enough and more technological resources, various software, lots of almost all our processes can be online and can be conducted even though you're not physically meeting each other. So is that there? And somewhere there is also there has to be a drill down of a sense that you are important in spite of the screen that we are sharing. Okay, and the person behind the screen is more important than the screen. So you can't, while there has to be comfort with technology, but technology cannot replace the person. And I think that needs to be built as a sense. There is also a strong need to instill a sense of credibility in the work, in the sense that just because I'm working from home does not mean that I'm there halfway only, or I'm not delivering to my complete capacity, or that it's play acting. It's not play acting. Okay, it's a whole lot of work. Coming from a lady, let me tell you, work from home and work at home, do all the work at home and also work from home are things that while people staying at home may mean good work-life balance, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. If you're sweeping, swabbing, cleaning, cooking, and perennially doing it all the time, and wanting to be able to perform to the best, which is, I think is a disease some of us have, which can put a lot of stress and strain. And I buy GR's point there that psychological and mental well-being is important. So, we've actually deployed counselors to speak with our staff as well as our students, because a lot of them are stuck in places away from family. So how are you going to take care of them? And whatever work they do from wherever, so what if I'm at home, my work, whatever I deliver is important. So that credibility needs to be built in. And last but not the least, transparency in communication. As HR leaders or as leaders of organizations, the reality is in front of everybody. Everybody knows that these are uncertain times. We can't give a date. We can't put an end by date for anything, or we can't say, things will become normal by so and so time. So if you look at the previous two instances of depressions or recessions, the time that it took. So from the 2002 crisis, it took maybe a year for the world to come out of it. The 2008 crisis, it took longer because it was a deeper financial recession. Okay. I presume we were already in a recession of sorts, and then COVID hit us. And then there is lockdown. Lockdown is necessary. I agree with that completely. However, the kind of financial impact that this is going to have is going to be long term. And therefore, I want to go back to a couple of points. This is my copy paste moment. Go back to a couple of points that Amit made, that Poonam made, that Dr. Deshpande made, that, you need to be able to sort of pull all the value from there and ensure that your employer brand is intact. because what you do today, the actions you take today are going to determine how you're going to be viewed tomorrow. And I think that is of critical and utmost importance. You can't say I'm an innovation driven, employee centric organization and then be extremely insensitive about the way you're letting people go, which is going to be a reality. And people will remember that forever. So, you may think you're doing a lot of things and people are working on the go, taking decisions on the go. And it is very crucial and very important to know that simply taking decisions on the go, you can't, as people in the people business, you need to know that there are different perspectives that people are going to remember. And bad news has a tendency to be remembered for longer than the good news. So I think in this COVID bad news, the fact that we are socially responsible organizations, that we care for the other people around us, that we are concerned about the environment, that we are concerned about the people around us, that we care very much what happens to our organization, that we are strongly professional. I think these would be some of the key things that we need to remember. So collaboration, compassion, comfort with technology, care and concern, transparency, and sticking with your values, not letting them go in these difficult times. And the ones that manage to stick to what they believe in are going to shine brighter once this entire thing is over.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I always look up to your thought process because I know that something very candid and unique will come. And so for all our panelists here and friends, since it's already 6:04 in the evening, 6:05. So I had a question from Poonam, but I will move to the new section, which is the HR technology adoption now, because it is important to do justice with whatever limited time is available to us. Sure. So I will come to Swapnil now. Swapnil, and please help us to understand here how digitization and technology adoption will start, because the kind of change which we are seeing in the current trends are there, and how this will convert majority into a gig economy. Do you really think there is going to be any change like that? And the aligned question, another one is AI, voice-based robotic assistance for employee communication, particularly when you have to keep a distance of 6 feet between two employees. You can't put more employees to ensure it happens. You'll have to put technology only there, the camera, the sensors, the robotic, a lot of things will come up. So quickly, if you can share your views on both the questions, please. Over to Swapnil, please.
Right, thanks, Dhananjay sir. Thank you for this opportunity. I mean, virtually the world is definitely gonna change, and you may see that I have robots right there in back of me, right? So that's how the profilings on the cloud is also changing.
Yeah,
right?
I love the background. Thanks, Swapnil.
It was like, if I'm talking about AI, I thought that's the best profile I can have, the best backgrounds, and the technology and the AI is allowing you to do that. So even if I move anywhere, the background is consistent, so it's like that way. So yeah, I mean, in this era where the work from home has become a very frequently used phrase today, and the lockdown and COVID-19 fear has become one of the most important reasons leading to transforming realities in the gaining and the prominence of the gig economy across the globe. I mean, now with this a massive adoption towards the gig economy, there will be no time to brief gig workers on the complex HR systems. And like, because they will be spending lesser and lesser time in the workplace and more time in the virtual workspaces. So from a physical workspaces, the world is going to definitely move to the virtual workspaces. The next big question is, like, is the HR team ready to face these challenges that the gig economy will bring within the current situation, like what we are today? And there is definitely a huge gap between what HR wants and what the virtual workers want. So that's a gap. So what I did here, I thought it will be interested to give the audience some of the key secrets on how they can use the AI and how they can actually success. So let me give you 5 secrets on how traditional HR can make the transitions towards the modern and digital HR. So the first point or the secret comes here is digital resumes, digital assessment, digital interviews, and digital selections. So I mean, few of the points like digital resumes and assessment is definitely what the HR fraternity has been doing. But the interviews is yes, there. Now the selections, even the shift from the current recruitment process involving multiple physical rounds of the interview with the candidates to the digital resumes, digital interviews has moved, and the selection is moving now completely digital. Today, in fact, even in my organization, we have recruited a few of the resources, or many of the resources, I would say, even without meeting them now. So the demand is there. We have to adopt the new set of technology. We did it everything. And there is a possibility that as an employer, we never meet. That's how the gig economy is going to work. The second secret comes is, and that's very, very interesting for all the employers, is the hourly gig payments. Now, how about like the biggest advantage which employers will see in this gig economy will be the kind of the payments being made to the employees. I mean, contracts and freelancers will not be monthly. I mean, but rather they move on the hourly basis. Now, this can save millions of dollars to the employers in that case. And you can also hire the best of the talent across the globe. So that's one key secret which all the organizations should be looking for adoption. The third important would be like the use of what we do today, like at every offices or the organization, we had biometrics, right? Would anyone would like to use the biometrics now? The future is one of the locations. The future is like where your workspace is your home workspace now. Your home premises becomes the workspace. So the technologies has come in where you can do a geofencing, you can log in, you can punch in, punch out from the space, and that's converted into the virtual offices. And as one of the panelists was also mentioning that my sales teams, they are not willing to go out. So like sales teams can mark their presence from this geo-agnostic technologies. So that's another important thing which a technology adoption should be taken up by the HR teams. The next is the AI. Yeah, we all know about the world of AI. So AI and cognitive technologies. So to AI or not to AI is now the question of a past. I mean, the organization who believed that their organization was too small to do so or adopt AI have no other choice. They have to adopt AI and the cognitive technologies for the talent acquisition, talent development, and optimizing the HR operations. I mean, they have no other choice. The next big thing, which all the panelists which spoken about, the continuous be connected with the employees, with your teams, the chatbots, the intelligent smart assistants at the help desk. Now the face-to-face conversations moves completely to virtual conversations. So traditional ways of HR support, such as meeting with the HRs, conference meeting with the HR, calling HR-based call centers, are going to be replaced. They're gonna completely be replaced with AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants. And answer, and these all assistant and chatbots can actually answer all the MCQs and FAQs. So I mean, the most commonly asked questions and the frequently asked questions. So even the usage, like the messenger apps. I mean, today when we are as part of this entire webinar, on the other side, there are groups of the digital HR where the conversations are happening right now. So WhatsApp has become that kind of a thing which has actually taken over everything on the today's side of the conversations. When employees don't want to travel, I mean, the sales teams were reluctant to go out in the market, as I think Poonamji was mentioning about it. We have no other choice than adopting the collaboration tools at the workplaces and move the conversation platforms where people can send messages on the real-time basis and get the quick responses and the quick responses, I mean, we were talking about 24/7 availability of the business. I mean, these are the robotic virtual assistants or the digital virtual assistants, which has to be trained by the organizations which can answer 24/7 the queries which are getting raised by the HR department, by the employees. So, as for my personal, these were the major 5 pointers which I've talked about. So as my personal opinion, like, these are the points, if implemented today by the HR fraternity at the organization, this can definitely help in the terms of the gig economy, what we were talking about, and the world with the virtual and digital workforces.
Thanks a ton, Swapnil.
Just want to add one more small thing, Dhananjay, here in the space of the virtual voice-based robotic, what you were asking one more question on the voice-based side of it.
Correct.
So here, I mean, the voice-based robotic assistant powered by artificial intelligence has gone up from insignificance to the mandate now, right? It is now mandatory to have that. Like, though we all are aware that we might have seen almost a decay of chatbots and all, but the chatbots which are now powered by the AIs and all, this has actually changed the world around us. And what can make a difference in a voice-based AI digital assistant which can handle chats, conversations, scheduling my meetings, travel requests, leave requests, all over the voice by 24/7. And this is how the world is changing with the voice setup and technology. So when are we going to do it? Is like the time is right now. Although I mean, if you can't wait anymore now, you have to actually get it from the entirely voice-based technology to be adopted by the thing. And the last couple of weeks, we have been also doing a lot of stuff in terms of, or the organizations are demanding us to know, because we are a software AI-based organization who have a lot of chatbots and virtual assistants. I mean, we have been doing webinars, and recently what people have asked us to do is like, if I'm allowed to just put it, like, we are actually conducting a webinar on the Saturdays where we are just talking about WhatsApp-driven automated conversations. So WhatsApp, I don't know if many of the people around there knows that there are 3 WhatsApp, like WhatsApp Personal, WhatsApp for Business, and WhatsApp API. So WhatsApp API, if the technology is integrated well, you can actually have the entire conversation with your employees, with your customers, with anyone on the WhatsApp automatically by a bot, creating a complete AI bot. So that's upcoming.
Thanks for sharing, and we would like to maybe at some other occasion like to hear more from you on these. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Now we would like to have you from Dr. Deepak Deshpande on importance of surveillance and data security in the changing times. So over to Deepak, please.
What a coincidence. My product head will kill me if he sees me hearing about, surveillance and IT security and things like that. Good, he's not on the call. Nevertheless, I will take it from 2 perspectives. One is as an individual, not somebody who's working in an IT, a data center company which is offering these services, but otherwise, as an individual also, I think we all know the implications, the importance of digital surveillance or data security. It's been part of our lives. Only thing is we didn't pay attention. We never took it as, as seriously as it should have been. The first time I heard of surveillance was, when I came to Mumbai years ago, that, housing societies have, offices have, then housing societies have. Now, I think you find them all over the cities and towns, thanks to global terrorism and things like that. I think surveillance is all and here to stay. And we have seen in n number of cases and examples how it's playing an important role. And today it has become a part of our lives. So that is not denied. I mean, it is there to stay. Data security, I think we have now started to realize, and some of us have learned it bad way when some of our data or information is compromised, when we responded or clicked on certain links that came to us appealing for something, or we didn't pay attention. We heard it hard way, right? When cloud was initially launched in 2008-9, and that's when I think it came to India, everybody had apprehensions about cloud. And 10 years from now, and then I think today we are talking nothing but cloud. There are still skeptics who are saying cloud is not secure. So cloud comes with different versions, private, public, hybrid, name what. Now different service providers have come with their own architecture, their own offerings. Now the same people have gone for multi-cloud solutions, and the security issue is still there, right? So to put it simply, I think there is no doubt about the importance of data security and surveillance in our lives. It is going to be there. We will find it intrusive. Employees, as a HR person and in organizations, people will find it intrusive, and they will have apprehensions. So we have to draw a line how much when it comes to surveillance. It's end up one side we are talking about employee trust and things like that, building branding and several issues when it comes to relationship managing, getting the trust of people. So surveillance is a part of it, but where to start, where to stop is a question that we need to really apply. It has to be a good balance between both. I remember in early 2000 or late 90s, we used to have remote monitoring control of certain employees. We used to do, and I wouldn't take the name, then I was working for a different company. So we suspected he was doing certain things, that were not appropriate. So we had to take the remote control of his monitor and try to actually, nail him down, right? Now, 2 decades later, we find still we have a different smart ways of surveillance. They come in terms of firewalls and certain programs coded there, and you can actually see what's happening. But we'll leave it that to the IT experts and CTOs and CIOs, to decide the. But as HR professionals and leaders in our organizations for the functions, we need to be really fair, transparent, ethical. When it comes to surveillance of employees is concerned, we need to be really ethical. And that there could be temptation, given some certain employees themselves indulge in, they violate all the laws of code of business conduct. They are involved in data theft and things like that. So there, I think sometimes you may have to yield to resort to certain things, right?
Thanks, Deepak. So we have to have a balance between, you are saying, how to leverage technology. At the same time, we should not intrude the privacy of the people.
That's correct.
Very, very valuable, very balanced views. Now, Amit, please help us with your views on how decisions would be impacted based on people data analytics, please. Your valuable views on these, Amit.
Sure. So at the outset, let me tell you, Dhananjay, that the technology has always been a force multiplier, which primarily enhances and scales up the physical and intellectual capacity of all of our human beings. So in a knowledge-driven networked organizations of today, the constant disruption of new age technologies like AI, ML, cognitive computing, robotics, and the likes of it have transformed the way we work, we communicate, and also we interact with each other. So we need to cleverly embrace the right technology to manage the unpredictable business ecosystem, which has moved now from being complicated to complex. So our human brain, for example, has been conditioned for thousands of years to process past incidents, data, draw insights, and prepare us for the future. But when the future cannot be predicted anymore by the law of probability, and the future outcome has endless possibilities, we have no other option but to adopt the right technology to manage that kind of complexity. So what I keep saying in various forums is the sea of VUCA has changed from being complicated to complex. So when we just started thinking that we have become smarter as human beings by learning to drive a fast car on a fast track, we suddenly are expected to fly a helicopter in an unfamiliar terrain without having knowledge of which lever to pull also. So while humans are smart, but unfortunately our intelligence and productivity are not scalable. So technology can either automate our current ways of doing things, or it can transform the way we do things. But incidentally, most of the times we find that we choose to do the former while actually we should do the latter. So most of our people decisions across employee lifecycle touchpoints, be it in attracting the right talent, managing performance, developing and engaging the talent, can be carried out with high degree of precision and enhanced effectiveness if human intuition is enabled by the right HR analytics. All the people data analytics can help us to recreate a gamified talent management framework which can cater to the customized needs of our multi-generational talent at the workplace. So the volume of data available on employee demographics, employment history, learning and competencies, performance and career progression, the workplace behaviors, the various engagement surveys and the reports thereof are all extremely critical to take the analytics-led people decisions. Now,
Wow.
if you have to talk about recruitment channel analytics, culture analytics, the leadership capability and competency analytics, when you talk about employee performance and engagement analytics, all gets enhanced in terms of the employee offerings, the experience that we provide to our employees, and of course, a better ROI on all our talent decisions. So today, we are seeing the traditional dashboards are fast becoming insight boards, which is helping us to proactively track the usage and frequency of various people processes and the initiatives that we carry out in the organization. So this obviously will enable us to build that predictive models of consumption by our customized, to create that customized employee experience and how optimally we are actually enhancing the workplace productivity. So all the people analytics is moving from being an operational tool to a more of a strategic lever. Now, when it comes to talent acquisition space, for example, which Swapnil was talking about, the companies have transformed the selection process by simply inserting a technology screen before the human one. So either through remote video interviewing or chatbots, which basically has helped us in better quality and speed of hiring and at a lower cost, of course. So we have already seen chatbots like Genie, Siri, Watson. They've already started their journey with us. Organizations are using sociometrics, robotics, design thinking to drive that customized and hyper-personalized learning and engagement initiatives. The digital-based learning solutions supported by the interactive technologies like AI, virtual reality, augmented reality, the bots are already crafting the personalized learning curriculum and enriching the learning journey. Smart systems or IoT, which is Internet of Things, will completely transform the space of HR analytics, people experience, and obviously in the process will create disproportionate value creation for our enterprise. But having said that, let me conclude by saying, while it is very important to understand that technology cannot replace the human aspects of people management. For example, the talent acquisition is all about building personal rapport and relationship. The performance management process is all about having the meaningful conversation between the manager and the team members. So human beings need to provide that empathy, sensitivity, creativity, innovativeness. At the same time, display compassion and care while collaborating with the machines, so that we need to continue to leverage the right technology to enhance the people experience across the employee lifecycle touchpoints.
Super. Thank you, Amit. Thank you so much. And you are saying that people will remain the causal variable in the overall ecosystem. That's not going to change. So, Poonam, I will humbly request your top 2 thoughts on what would be the role of next generation talent analytics. What are the top 2 thoughts which comes to your mind, please?
Okay, so while Amit has already captured most of the AI analytics and the talent acquisition or the talent analytics, and we already have live dashboards in the various HR systems that we are using, the main challenge is how accurate is the data that is there in these systems. While we have the fantastic systems already there, how accurate is the data in the systems, and how accurate are the dashboards and the insights that are coming? And that is, I guess, one of the challenges we as HR kind of keep questioning ourselves. Is this the right data? Is it the real picture of my organization? Now, that is something which I think COVID as a incident has actually pushed the technology adoption almost like 20 years ahead. Because we had a lot of people, especially at the group level, who were a little wary in terms of how do I do a video interview? How do I kind of do this? I think my secretary will do it or my assistant will do it. Now with this uncertain times and when no secretaries are available, people are doing it themselves.
Wow.
And the technology adoption has actually jumped 20 years ahead. So what we kind of think about what we used to see as children in Star Wars movies of people teleporting themselves, I think with the technology, we are actually looking at teleporting and having our meetings across, like we are currently doing in our panel discussion. We don't need to kind of physically be there as such. So I guess one is the data accuracy piece of it, the adoption piece of it, which is somewhat solved. And how do we solve our future needs in terms of the requirements, because these future needs are still evolving. We haven't figured out. For example, when I know Swapnil mentioned that we are hiring people without even interviewing them. In one of our questionnaires today morning, surveys I was answering, and somebody asked me, would you hire a senior leader at a CXO level without meeting the person? Now, I think that is a journey which, at least at our group level, we haven't traveled so far. I'm not sure whether we will be willing to travel as to give a $3 billion business for somebody to handle and you haven't met him a single time as part of leadership hiring. I don't think as an organization, COVID or non-COVID, we are still ready for it, but I guess only time will tell about it. So the needs at the organization level are still evolving, and we have to figure out, while a lot of the data and analytics, AI is more about the insights and the predicting, but with the COVID, the needs are changing at the ground level. Now, what are those needs and how we can use AI and data to kind of anticipate those needs is going to be the next phase, is what I think.
Thanks. Thank you, Poonam. Thank you very much. Now, Doctor, I would like to hear from you. One of the top thoughts which comes to your mind, you are at the core of learning and development, Dr. Pratima. How do you see the role of technology and digitization in learning and development, and which is the first thought which comes to your mind when we talk about this subject, please? Over, Dr. Pratima. Are we audible, Dr. Pratima? I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now we can hear you.
The first thought is eminently possible. Okay. Yes, I would agree with Poonam. CXO level hiring, senior level hiring. Will we ever go there? I don't think so. At least not for now. We really don't know how the situation pans out. But you know, is L&D possible? Very much possible. We have done sessions online with a big batch of 300 plus students. We've done their exams, you know, in a proctored mode online. I have even done their commencement, which is, you know, we call it commencement, but it is like they're stepping out. Okay, we did that online on Google Meet. Okay, where the attendance was very good. I mean, it has never happened before. But we can track attendance. We can tell who came in from what time to what time. You know, because I can see a couple of questions here that Ritesh has posted. How do you keep a record? Well, you give them a task and you ask them to complete it, and usually people do it. I think now the also the tendency of wanting to be in a job is very high. So I think currently in the next 3 months, when there are so many question marks and a big number was quoted by both Amit and Poonam in terms of, you know, jobs in danger, I would feel that these are times when people want to hold on to their jobs. And if they want to hold on to their jobs, they're not going to look at what is the pay package. They just want some money to come in, and they want, you know, their monthly payments or loans or whatever else to go out on time. And I would find the accountability has actually improved in the last month and a half, you know, because Maharashtra went into lockdown when about 15th March or so. Educational institutions were the first to be shut. And, you know, we've been working like this since 15th March. So month and a half, and I think we've become pros at it. Is learning and development possible? Yes. Where there is a will, there is a way. Is it as good as in person? Maybe yes and maybe no. There are pros and cons to everything. Okay, because if somebody just mutes themselves or visually gets out, so I wouldn't know if they are sleeping or they're there or they're not there. Those are some problems that do exist, but especially with the working professionals, we've seen great traction. Okay, they feel that it has cut the travel time, it has cut the clutter, and they are only concentrating on being able to get the learning that they require and deliver the learning in that manner. So I think it has actually made life a lot more simpler, and we're not battling traffic. Of course, there is no traffic on the roads right now, but those of you who've ever been to Pune would know it is super tough to get into Hinjewadi and out of Hinjewadi, and so that's where we are based, and all that traffic and travel time is gone. So I think it has helped us immensely.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. And with this, I'm sorry, together as a team, maybe I will request Rahul to send the questions to us separately so that we can answer them. It's already 6:34, and on my personal behalf and on behalf of the organizers,
yeah, just a request, I think except Amit sir, we can just have everybody else another 15 minutes if it's convenient, because there are close to 65 questions and very interesting points are being raised. If you wish to pick up just few questions.
I have a humble request, Rahul, here, because my other session is already started at 6:30. So I'm already delayed by 4 minutes.
I get into another session at 6:45.
Yeah,
so appreciate then I think we take exit here.
I'm proposing, Rahul, that if other colleagues, they can stay back and if they can share, because as someone said that the person behind, Dr. Pratima was talking about, person behind the screen is more important than the screen. So we are grateful to all the participants.
Why don't you take on?
Yeah,
I am open. Mr. Singh, I am open.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. So grateful thanks to all the panelists. I'm grateful to each one of them on my personal behalf, and thank you so much, Rahul, for giving us this opportunity. So my apologies, I have to, because of prior commitment, I'll take your leave, but I learned a lot from each one of you, and I'll miss the questions for now, but I'll separately, offline, I'll understand all the questions, please. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
Thanks, Dhananjay.
Thank you, Dhananjay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And Rahul, as I had mentioned, that since I have to sign off now because of another Versus call coming up at 6:45, it will be good if you can send me the questions. If possible, I can voice record it and send it back to you for the benefit of all the participants here.
Sure, sir. That is going to be very good gesture. I'll do the needful accordingly. I think I have other members staying back.
Thank you.
So some questions for the benefit of the audience.
Sure, Amit, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So let me go to some of the questions that we have received in different sessions. Ritesh, can I request you to please publish it on the WhatsApp group for the ease of extracting data?
Ritesh has published some questions here. I think some of those got answered. But I think some students are asking about what do you do about summer internships, etc. So while Ritesh pulls it up, I think I can answer this for the students that are here. There is about 12 to 15 of our students that where the summer internships have been cancelled. And in fact, what they've done is in their local community, they have gone and sought summer internships with small SMEs. Okay, MSMEs, and they are doing virtual projects with them. So I think it's a way to give back. It's not a paid internship, but I think that kind of talent will never be available to those SMEs. They're also going through really difficult times, and if you can help them, and probably you will be able to do a good job in terms of the kind of inputs that you can provide to these people. So I think that's an answer for summer internship placement, which is what we have done. It's worked really well for us.
Just to add one point, Swapnil, here, I mean, we always look for such kind of an interns, virtually those who wanted to work. So we are encouraging that kind of people. So in case if that can be shared
Sure.
to the right team, we will be happy to interview a few of them.
Yeah.
Pratima, I'd like to add a small point here.
Yes,
And,
yes.
my point here is that very simple, that I think, according to me, MSMEs are facing death.
Yeah, I know.
I think if I, in my own way, I've been trying to help them in terms of helping all the MSMEs because they're facing the barrel of a gun.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think when we talk about people first, we talk about technology, everything looks to be fine. But I think, as rightly stated by you, if the interns can be there and all of us can chip in, I am personally willing to chip in for any MSMEs who need guidance on strategy or finance or anything, so that they can come out of this COVID crisis unscathed. I don't know, but at least if they could be kind of surviving out of it, I think I'm willing to give my best to them in order for them to survive. If you come across, any one of you come across, I'm more than willing to share my experience with them.
Great thoughts, Jer. Certainly.
Thank you. So I have some questions here for Poonam, madam. So there are questions around, what new role HR will have in the coming era, because there's going to be a lot of shifts in the way operations are going to happen. So what way you see the HR actually taking the role? And there's another question which talks about, the employer branding. So in the tough, when the organization has taken tough calls, what kind of communication streams will help?
Before Poonam starts answering, Poonam, just a moment. I will need to sign out. I hope to hear back from all of you. Thank you very much. I need to get on another call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pratima, for being with us.
Thanks, Poonam, Dr. Deshpande, Dhananjay, Swapnil, GR. Pleasure hearing all of you. Thank you so much.
Same here, Simon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So Rahul, let me take the first question for you, which was basically what would HR do differently, right? Did I get it right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the current crisis, as far as we are concerned in Aditya Birla, is actually called for HR to be at the forefront. Unlike the financial crisis, which called for the finance managers and all those things, it's actually HR that is kind of going to lead the way out of this crisis. Because right now, employee, like GR mentioned, employee well-being is at a big stake. And how do you manage the mental well-being? So that also leads to another question that kind of came up as employee engagement. Do we really understand what are the challenges our employees are facing? Are we really listening to what is the need? Because at one point we are saying work-life balance. Okay, you wanted to work from home, great, you got this opportunity. I guess you guys wished for it, so you got it. But is this the kind of work-life balance we had all wished for? And to Dr. Pratima's point, it is work at home as well as work from home together. It doesn't make the kind of work-life balance that anybody was wanting, where you are kind of put into a place. So it is impacting people's emotional well-being, mental well-being, how they are doing it. And not just at technology companies, it is across all industries. And the other point which is there is the uncertainty of the future. We don't know what is going to happen 3 months down the line. Nobody knows what is going to happen two weeks down the line as of now. Everybody is fighting for their own survival, be it at the individual level or be it at the company level. Who is going to survive this is basically everybody is looking and thinking on innovating on that angle. Now, while the lockdown kind of helps us from a personal angle as to we don't step out, we don't catch the infection, but how long can you kind of keep the infection at bay? Because somewhere some insights are talking about the herd immunity is going to kind of save everybody even before the vaccine kind of comes in. So herd immunity is basically you kind of get infected somewhere and then it builds on. So the most critical part that HR is going to play is how do you manage and balance out the emotional well-being of each and every employee in your organization, because that is in turn going to impact your employer brand. Now, what is the emotional well-being? Have you opened up channels? Are the managers kind of checking in on a daily basis as to how the teams are facing? One is, of course, task. It can be task focused that, okay, I have given you this task, you complete it and you report it back to me. But are the managers calling in and checking as to what exactly are the employees facing and what is it that they need and what kind of support are they seeking? And it is up to each and every manager to kind of look after the team. And that's what we are doing at the Aditya Birla Group, as to ensuring managers reaching out, connecting to the team, understanding their emotional well-being, asking about the family, bringing in that compassion piece of it. And I guess that is what HR needs to drive a lot more of it. While we are doing a lot of pulse surveys, but what are we doing with the insights that we are getting out of the pulse surveys, internal surveys? How are we going to form our policies? Like we mentioned the TCS. I am sure all the organizations are relooking at that. That if the productivity has not fallen down so much, has it gone up? Technology companies are saying yes, but not so much on the other industries are not saying it has gone up. The other industries, for example, manufacturing, which is 70% of our employee base, if the factories are not working, there is not too much of productivity happening. So how do you keep the employees engaged and motivated during that phase is going to be a big HR challenge for us. So it is going to be each board and each sector separately that the HR has to sit and design. Firstly, understand what is it that is going in the employee's mind, and secondly, design improvements, engagements, policies around that. It is going to change, but how little, how fast is going to change is what HR has to define it.
Rahul, one point I want to just add here.
Yeah, go ahead, dear.
The only point that needs to be added here is that we are talking about working from home and productivity improving. We are talking about work-life balance. We say that there'll be quality time with family, but we have also not understood how people staying at home can bring a disruption in the normal life in the house, where the children, the wife, the parents, everybody had a particular structured life. And now you have the work at home culture, which is a very new normal that is being created. For that, HR has to sensitize, understand that family is having personal and professional time almost getting, I would say, they're almost mixing it together. So you don't know when the family time ends, when the professional time starts. So that's going to be a bit of a problem from a mental stress point of view. And if you're talking about the manufacturing sector, are we aware that, yes, if the people are not going, as Poonam rightly put it, because manufacturing sector cannot be like technology, they need the people. And suddenly it cannot be said that people need not be there, robotics can take over. Then we are talking about a displacement that can come into the system, which is scary given India and the people and the huge workforce. So it's all nice to talk about social distancing, but I think there are going to be really, really tough questions to be answered by HR, and the sensitivity has to be in such a fashion that we are humane as well as productive. That combination has to prevail.
Thank you, dear. To Deshpande sir, I have, very commonly asked question in the session where, our HR folks are wanting to know and understand in these tough times, how do we handle the employee engagement piece? Would you like to enlighten a bit?
Okay. Employee engagement bit. Okay. I think I like to keep things very simple and straight. That's the only way I know. We have always, I think any HR professional or every HR professional has grown or evolved over years, listening to this mantra, be transparent, be fair, be open, be considerate, be compassionate, I think these will remain the same. Secondly, you cannot change your employee engagement, the spirit behind the employee engagement, the soul behind the employee engagement. It will not change drastically because of COVID or instances like this. I think there was a wonderful question around branding, right?
True.
So I will take a leaf from there. See, whatever the company is, whatever I am today, the company has already seen me. If the company is existing, take our own company, entity NetMagic. We've been there for NetMagic has been there for 20 odd years now, right? Whatever we are, people have seen it. People have experienced it. They have spoken about it. They know what we are. No matter how we claim, how we brand, it's not going to change. The reality will remain the same. What the experience of NetMagic and the leadership of NetMagic and the functions of HODs, the leaders of NetMagic, that will remain the same. It will become better or bad, but it is constantly evolving. So also is true of employee engagement. The way you have been engaging your team from day one and over years, you have evolved and you are refined your processes, and it has become a natural way of being. There should not, I would say, employee engagement as not as a labored effort. It should be a natural way of working, right? Even if you are doing reviews, there is an engagement there, the element of engagement. Employee should feel that is engaged. Your conversation, whether it is a serious discussion about appraisal or performance review or product reviews or anything, they need to feel that level. Plus, we need to keep them in, communicate. What are you? I think the number of, I remember, I think our journey on COVID started on 4th or 5th of March, right? When we heard things are getting, suddenly we got into, a huge, communications long. I mean, very clear, crystal clear, the amount of communications that we have sent to people. We have had, discussion, open houses, connect meetings that we call them virtual, right? We have had the Zoom call meetings, everything that we had, so many and so full, to the extent that now today we are reaching their homes and say, guys, you need to be safe at home. Charity begins at home. It's not only your flat, it's not your floor, it's not only your building, their tower, your society. You need to do ABCD. Just yesterday we had a call, town hall, where we said, please join this call for 1 hour. We will share with you what are the best practices, how to be safe at home, and share with us what is that you are doing well or not doing well, what are the challenges you are facing. To that extent, we are going beyond the office, because now our office is now represented there. We want him to be safe. So the engagement is like doing what is required at that moment, constantly, consistently echoing the same spirit and the mindset and attitude. Again, if this is done with honesty, integrity, and respect and consideration, it will. People, love speaks, love touches. It reaches heart, it crosses barriers.
I agree with you totally. As ours is a small organization compared to yours, but I think we have been constantly been in touch with the people, and that has helped not only the work going on, but I think we are able to figure out on an ongoing basis that what challenges are you facing, how can we help you, so on and so forth. This one important point which I think a lot of people wish to know and understand when it comes to communicate a negative message, maybe a message which is of sensitivity in nature. How do people go about it?
Yeah.
I mean, how do they ideally deal with it actually?
Well, are you the hard ones, hard questions?
Yeah, the tough ones. Yeah, the tough messages.
We are made for that. That's our job. Number one, that's our job. We should not hesitate. It's like, darling, you can't eat today. There's nothing to eat today. I have only 2 biscuits. You can share 1. We can keep. But you want to have a better tomorrow. We'll only share 1 biscuit, and tomorrow we'll keep 1 for ourselves. I think end of the day, life teaches us, and we need to be open about it, and we should not be apologetic. Where it is, yes, it's a dog eat a dog world, right? So we need to be said, listen, this is what is the reality. Yes, but he needs to be treated with respect. He needs to be treated with grace, and he needs to be told, I am doing this beyond the, it's not 1 month, it's 3 months. It's not only there. We are doing ABC for you. You will be the first person to come back, right? No, I am going to connect you with these companies are hiring. I mean, I had the privilege of working for during the .com burst. I think I have a lot of blood on my hand, and now, so those tough decisions have taught us how to deal with. But yes, it needs to be done with grace. It needs to be done with compassion. It should not be you did this. because of you. No, it's not that. It's a failure as a group, as a company, as a strategy. We fail somewhere, or sometimes, you know, it's like, you know, even LIC, you have this, what is that called, that policy, natural something like that. There's a big movie.
Yeah.
Usko bolne, oh my God, picture batane ka usko, you know.
So these are difficult times, as we know. Let me tell you that even we have 400 plus people, you know, watching. We have overshot the time by close to 22 minutes. I want to thank you and Poonamji and GR and Swapnil, you know, for you know, staying back with us even after the timelines got over. It was such an enlightening session. I think a lot of points, you know, got highlighted. A lot of points actually got discussed, you know, which people really wanted to, you know, get to know and understand, you know, what large enterprises are doing like yours. At the same time, it, you know, it gives a framework and some guidelines about, you know, how to go about difficult things, you know, how to go about tackling the technology piece, how to bring about the change within the organization. The wellness being another very critical factor. Employee communication, employer brand becomes very sensitive in times like this. So we tried with our little effort today through DigitalHR platform to, you know, have some sensitivity being brought in and, you know, some knowledge being shared, and we all learned from this, you know, interesting panel discussion.
Rahul, I have something to say just
yes,
before
please.
we close.
Yes, please.
One is to congratulate and compliment you again for getting this 400 is a big number. Right. I think it's not easy to get all this, you know, inquisitive minds on one single platform with, you know, so many veteran HR leaders here and a wealth of experience. And I really thank everybody who has joined. Definitely, I'm sure Rahul and team is feeling very bad. You know, so many questions going unanswered. Maybe, you know, we could do next time better. Having said that, I would encourage you to please have these conversations, especially for next 6 months. At least don't link it with COVID will continue 6 months. Deepak is saying, no, I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying a lot of things. Please, there is a need for that sharing. Please reach out, encourage, get those people who can share with these people, you know. You're giving a platform opportunity and you don't know how you're touching hearts, you know, so changing lives of people who need to hear from, you know, those. It's only incidental. You could be on my side today, in my seat. It's only incidental. I'm this side and many of the people who are speaking are on that side and you are on the other side. I'm talking of those in the audience, right? So each day, and life is beautiful. It will become better. Don't lose hope. Be strong and be very positive and keep open mind. Rahul, please provide the platform. You know, हफ्ते में एक बार या फिर ऐसा कुछ कीजिए. But especially I heard some college students are there. They're asking
plans at DigitalHR. A lot of things are rolling out, and we'll take your mentoring behind us, you know, for us to have a continuity in place. I think, you know, let me take some more closing comments from other panelists also that will also help people. So may I request Poonam to give some closing remarks, please?
Yeah, so thanks, Rahul. Thanks for this opportunity. It was lovely connecting with all the panelists, and I hope the audience kind of benefits with the kind of questions I was seeing coming on the question board. It was quite an engaged audience, so thank you everybody for kind of listening and appreciating what we are. I know we are all in a difficult time, but I'm sure all of us will come out of it. Now, how we come out of it, of course, future is only going to tell us as to how we are. But if we stay together, learn with each other and share our knowledge, I'm sure it will be a much better world once we are out of it. Thanks.
Thank you.
My prediction is Swapnil is going to come with a robo that will, you know, take over this your idea of, you know, doing every week one session for the people.
Let's hear from Swapnil what he has to, you know, say as a concluding note. And what about the robot, Swapnil?
Right. My robot is still standing there and waiting for the instructions, sir. So robots is gonna just make life easy, and technology will be just an enabler. But human touch is always needed. Though this is a time where robots may take a place and teaches us the right way to do the conversations and stay connected. I mean, that's only the thing what we can expect from them to do. But yeah, human touch is always gonna be missed. And I'm sure we will come back to that era as well. So both the things will work hand on hand, the robotic virtual assistants and the human assistants.
Excellent. Jar, would you like to make some closing remarks?
I have only one thing to say. I think first, I thank the audience for having joined us in such large numbers. It's a privilege to address such an audience. Secondly, my only request would be, Rahul, next time we have audience asking questions live, that would be wonderful, so that they also have a sense of active participation with the panelists. That would be a wonderful effort, so that the touch is there. I keep on talking about touch because according to me, technology will be an enabler. Technology will bridge the people distance, but technology cannot replace people. So all the audiences, all the people, all of us are going to be important. Strategy cannot be removed. And I think in due course of time, we'll find that, yes, we may find new ways of dealing with things. But one thing is for sure, human minds are intelligent. We will find ways and means to conquer anything which seems to be impossible right now. Thank you so much to the audience. Thank you, Rahul, and thank you to the other panelists. And I think it was a great seminar that we had. And as rightly stated, we should have many more such ones. Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much. So I appreciate everyone's time, both sides. My panelists, you have given enough food for thought to all the members here. Thank you so much for your time and the insights being expressed. Let me thank all the audience for taking out the time and attending the session in big numbers. We will try to have the narrative of the session being shared with you all, so that you can actually take the summary out from it. Thank you so much once again, and we hope to see you all connected with the Digital HR platform. We look forward to have similar sessions in near future too. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you, Puram. Thank you. Bye, both the gents. Sir,
thank you.